There's nothing quite like a fresh start, a new beginning, one where optimism fills the air and goals are individually obtainable as the time for action draws near. But this journey began long ago. When the calendar turned, so did the attention, leading to long, grueling days, fresh faces, new opportunities, and ultimately upcoming tests. Well, the first test is here. After 230 days of waiting, refocusing, it's time to begin anew. Week 1 is here. It's the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants in the bright lights of prime time.
Every time I say they run New York, we're going to show them who run this.
And it starts now with Cowboys Pregame Live.
Bright lights of the NFL are back as the anticipation, the wait for the Dallas Cowboys 2023 season is no longer. Giant expectations bring giant obstacles, and the first of which just happens to include toppling Giants in prime time. It's Sunday Night Football. It's the Cowboys and the Giants on Cowboys Pregame Live from the Star in Frisco in the Cowboys World Headquarters. It is year 4 of the Cowboys Pregame Live crew. We've got Barry Church, year number 5 for Barry Church here, the veteran of the group, former Cowboys safety. We've got former Cowboys draft pick Isaiah Stanback, Emmy Award winning analyst up here as well. Congratulations on a great offseason, my friend. Nate Newton, of course, 6-time Pro Bowler, 3-time Super Bowl champ, and 4th year for Nate Newton here on Cowboys Pregame Live. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Soon to be joined by Nick Eatman out at MetLife Stadium, where the Cowboys prepare to take on the New York Giants. Day 1 of NFL season is here, and it's great that now we get to do it in prime time. What are these first day jitters like for the Cowboys as they get ready to take the field?
Well, you kind of never get over the jitters. I've had the jitters from my first game to my last game as a professional out there, but they seem to go away with time. I mean, when you go out there, you get your first hit, you get your first block, you throw your first pass, the jitters all go away. I'm excited to see what these 23 Cowboys got in store for us.
Yeah, much like Barry said, you know, the jitters really don't go away. You don't want them to go away. Seemingly, just from the standpoint of you love the game. And when you love the game that much, you're anticipating going out there and making big plays. So these guys are going to be nervous like perverts, but they're ready to go out there and make some big plays.
You know what, man? I'm going to be honest, man. We all had a little bubbly stomach. Yeah. So we're up here, and we get excited like now. Even now, we pumped up. Hey, it's a new season. These Cowboys are getting ready.
It is a new season, and it's a new motto for Mike McCarthy and this Cowboys coaching staff. They've done it every year. It's been resilience. It's victory last year or 2 years ago. This year, it's Carpe Omnia, which is the Dallas Cowboys. They want to seize everything here in 2023, and that picture, it says 1,000 words, and it's yet to be written for the Dallas Cowboys. Do you like the motto overall, Barry, and what they brought to the table? Because that's the ultimate goal. They want to lift the Lombardi again.
I love the theme. I love the theme because if you look at it, this team has what it takes. They got the leadership. They got the experience. They have the talent out there. Now it's just up for these 2023 Dallas Cowboys to go out there and seize the opportunity.
Yeah, that's exactly what they have to do. They have to just simply take the opportunities that are given to them, do the best they can with them, and go week by week. Don't look too far in advance. Obviously, that's the end goal, but you have to take it week by week, and it starts this week with the Giants.
I agree with 100% because what we're talking about here is seizing the moment, taking every step and enjoying it as you go, every snap, every down, every series. Just seize the moment, and eventually everything will fall in place so you can make that run.
He said he revealed that theme on Monday to the team, and he was actually talking with us earlier in the week, and he was saying that he's actually used a Carpe Diem before, and of course, Carpe Diem. I brought my copy of Dead Poets Society.
Oh, there we go.
So Robin Williams, great. There you go, right there. I won't move it around too much. It's a classic movie, Carpe Diem, seize the day. You want to know when the last time the Cowboys said seize the day, or at least Mike McCarthy said seize the day? It was in Dallas. It was right before the Packers took on the Steelers and won the Super Bowl for Mike McCarthy in Green Bay. That was the only other time he's used a Carpe. He told us that off to the side earlier this week. He's trying to grab some of that same luck this time around. But in order to really start off the right way, you've got to seize the day today against the New York Giants. Cowboys are 0-3 in season openers under Mike McCarthy. How do they seize week 1 for Mike McCarthy?
You just got to take care of your responsibilities. I'm going to be honest with you, Kyle. These guys, this 0-3 record, the players don't care about that. The coaches don't care about that. It's a new day. It's a new season. And a great thing about the National Football League is each and every year you get to update your resume. And this year, Big Mike and the boys, they're going to go out there and update theirs.
I'm glad you said it. The players do not care about the previous record. This is a new year, a new team, a new regime, and they have a new scheme offensively specifically. And there's new players. So there's an opportunity to go out there and make a big impact. This is you start the year off with a divisional game. You don't like the Giants, so go out there and show everybody what you're capable of.
You know, I tell you, I'm just excited that coach is the new play caller, because that is what I'm looking for. Is we seize this moment and take care of this thing. You got a new play caller that's dealing with new players, and the quicker they can get into the rhythm, the quicker they can take off.
Yeah, the quicker they can get into that rhythm, and it's going to take a lot against the Giants defense that likes to throw different looks, that likes to get after it with the blitz. They're going to try and pressure this offense and pressure the play caller. Do you think this challenge is the right spot for Mike McCarthy to try and unveil quite a bit of that new scheme, or is he going to try and hold back maybe a little?
I think he may just try to hold back just a little bit right there. I mean, we got our offensive line ailing just a little bit, and we got 2 dogs in the middle for the New York Giants. When I'm talking about Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams, I'm sure we'll dive into them later on, but I can see Mike McCarthy just pressing the brakes just a little bit to start things off this season.
Yeah, sometimes you got to Barney Rubble the car. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to slow it down a little bit, and the reason being, whenever you've taken a little bit of a break from play calling, you have the opportunity to have what? Perspective. So he's had Kellen Moore, who's gone before him over the past few years, and we've seen where Kellen Moore had emptied his bag out a little bit too early, and teams figured out exactly what they're doing later on in the year, and it made it difficult for the offense. So, to your point, I think he'll slow roll it.
His body punch, a run here, a screen there. Just feel them out, see what they're doing, and then after that, just take them on.
Got to take off. That's what Mike McCarthy's trying to do with this Cowboys offense in 2023. Let's hear from the head coach himself.
It's week 1. It's a division game. You know, these division games are so important. I mean, the success of your division record, you know, clearly usually affects your playoff, you know, opportunities. So yeah, that's really the way we're looking at it. But, you know, we've had extra time to spend on the Giants. You know, they have the same coordinators come back, so we feel like we have a pretty good beat on what to expect from. But we also, going back to what I said earlier, 35% of these looks will be different. So we're preparing for that. But yeah, this is game 1. Winning that first game is, especially on the road, is always seems a little tougher, than the others. So that's really where my mind's at. But last year, it's great. It's a testament to what they've accomplished and what they're trying to get done into the playoffs. I think shows really well for our division. I mean, this is a super competitive division. We're expecting that again. I think all 4 teams have an opportunity to be in the playoff hunt. So, but this is really one game. This is one game we need to go win.
Mike McCarthy going to establish some of that communication with his offense in his first game as play caller since 2018 when he was the head coach for the Green Bay Packers. And with more on that and the communication overall, let's go out to MetLife Stadium as we welcome in our 5th member of our crew, Nick Eatman. Nick, first off, how's the weather? Does it feel okay yet? I know there's a chance of rain in the forecast up in the Meadowlands. Do you feel like there's a chance that could affect the game?
Well, I definitely think it'll affect the game if it does rain. We'll see how long it does. From what I'm hearing, it's going to be, it should be happening now. So far, so good on the weather, but it does kind of have that, humid, sticky feeling down here. So wouldn't be surprised if it rains at some point. And I don't think the Cowboys will be, affected too bad. This week they did practice all week long with some wet ball drills in every practice. They also kicked. Brandon Aubrey and Brian Anger kicked and punted with some wet balls as well. Not the entire week, but it was part of the plan. So if it happens, I think that they'll be prepared for it.
So the preparation was there for the Cowboys coaching staff. Now, what about between head coach and quarterback? How imperative is it for the play calling to be on the same page and the communication to be there between Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott as they get ready to go into week 1?
Well, I think, it's imperative, it's crucial. I mean, it has to happen. I mean, they have to be on the same page. And I think, even though it was a preseason game, I think the fact that Dak Prescott was able to call the plays, that should help just, with the terminology and knowing what down and distance, what they like to do, what Dak likes to do. It should help McCarthy as well, knowing, all right, hey, this is what Dak did. So we can call it a meaningless preseason finale, but I think there were some aspects of it that they can take to this game as well.
Nick, we've heard all the reports, at least through the media, about the inactives and actives on the Cowboys' offensive line. Tyron Smith seemingly able to go. Do you feel like, based off of what you've seen on the sideline, he'll be effective in this game? And how could the Cowboys fill in the void of not having Tyler Smith up front as well?
That's a lot of strength that they're missing there at left guard. Chuma Edoga is going to fill in there and play. Not 100% with that ankle, but he'll be ready to go at least to start the game. And I think if they really had concerns, they would have done something and brought some other guys up for this game and have a little bit more protection. I think they feel like he's okay.
That's great to hear on the offensive line, of course, going up against the Giants team that was leading the NFL in blitz percentage a year ago. Nick Eatman joining us from MetLife Stadium. Thank you very much, Nick, and we'll talk to you again down the road as Nick will join Stephen Jones as the pregame coverage continues here from the Star. We welcome back Nate Newton to the guitar pick. And Nate, overall, this offensive line missing a lot of strength on that left side. How do you anticipate that to look for the Cowboys going up against that really blitz-hungry Giants defense?
I think you should have run it just a tad bit more, whereas normally we're probably out of 70, 80 plays, we'll probably throw the ball about 60 times. I think we should kind of even that up a little bit and try to give these guys a chance early in the game to get to know one another.
Tyron Smith played 17 games. That's just 17 in the last 3 years. Reminder, it's 17 games per regular season for the NFL rules. Now he's only played that amount of games in the last 3 seasons. Tyler Smith on the other side started all 17 games as a rookie. So how much do you feel like this plays a factor? The fact that this is the first time the Cowboys have been without Tyler Smith since they took him in the first round last year.
I tell you what, one thing that this kid had last year coming in, he was physical, he was mean, and he was rough. Going into the inside, playing against Dexter Lawrence and guys like that, it will give him a chance to be physical. But now he's not there, so I think they'll probably Doga or maybe a young T.J. Bass. We have to be a little bit more careful. Like I said, we're going to have to run the ball a little bit, be a little bit more about play action pass to give these guys a chance to get some type of rhythm.
Yeah, overall, good news on the offensive line, though, because they locked up Terrence Steele, the new $86 million man. 5-year extension for Terrence Steele, who was an undrafted free agent out of Texas Tech. You talk about the extension. This is really earned for Terrence Steele, even though he did miss the final 6 games last season, regular season, and in the playoffs. Was this as deservingly so as you could get on that offensive line?
Like you said earlier, man, this guy here came in here, man, a tackle that everybody wondered about. I believe that that by them believing in him and continue to work with him, this guy's developed into a top-notch run tackle, and he's better than an average pass blocker. He bends his knees. He's unstoppable. He's a play-action pass type guy. He likes to run the ball, but the more he put his hands on you, the more confidence he have, and then he becomes a great pass protector. This was a great find, and this was a great sign for the Dallas Cowboys.
Why was extending Steele such a priority for this front office to get it done before the season even began?
It's just about continuity. If a guy knows where he's standing, especially coming off an injury like that, you believe in him, that he will give you his all, man. This guy's dedicated. I saw him in the lunchroom. I don't think this guy stopped smiling since Zach Martin showed up to camp with his new bag, and now he got his bag, that whole right side full of bags, baby. So they feeling good.
How much are they going to rely on him now without Tyler Smith on that left guard spot? And Tyler Smith was really your swing tackle at that position. Now that he's inactive, how imperative is it for Steele to remain healthy and remain active up front?
It's everything, because even last year when he left out, I think we dropped off about a foot or two for us how we was rushing. I think we went from maybe 4-point-something to 3-point-something with him out. So he's a big part of that run game, and he, like I said, he's a play-action pass tackle. That means he loves to get his hands on you and run and knock you off the ball. And like I said, it gives him confidence as a pass protector then if he can put his hands on you.
Terrence Steele active, Tyler Smith inactive. Here's the rest of the inactive list for the Dallas Cowboys, because overall there are some names up here that will be missed for Dallas, including Tyler Smith down there toward the bottom. But Jordan Lewis, who in the past has been dealing with the injury, broke his foot last year, midway through the season. He was added to the active practice squad, but still not something that the Cowboys are ready to throw out there in terms of a game action. Same thing with Donovan Wilson as he works his way back from injury. The third quarterback, Trey Lance, this year, and then rookie wide receiver and rookie edge rusher Jalen Brooks and Viliami Fehoko, the other inactives for the Cowboys. Anybody stick out there for Jordan Lewis, Donovan Wilson? Couple starters not on the mix.
You know, you just would like for Donovan Wilson to be there, but I think with Gerard Curse, Malik Hooker, and Bell and McCormick, they'll be able to to cover that up. Now, Jordan Lewis, we putting Bland in the middle now. We bringing him down to that slot. I thought he was pushing last year, Lewis. Now he'll get a chance to show us what he can really do as a full-time starter.
And sticking with that offensive line, Tyler Smith inactive, you saw it up there on the list. But now you move to the reserves, and there's always been a question, at least throughout the offseason, of what the depth looks like for the Cowboys offensive line. Do you feel more comfortable now that Chuma Edoga is healthy and he's able to plug in for the missing Tyler Smith at the left guard spot?
I thought it would probably be Austin Richards, but they believe in his guy because he's a veteran. He played last year, so he's a veteran guy, and they like him. But I thought it would be Austin Richards or maybe even T.J. Bass. But these guys know more than I know, and I put my faith in Mike Solari.
What did you see from Edoga while you were out at training camp and he was able to practice prior to that injury? Did you see anything that stood out about the veteran?
To be honest with you, Kyle, not enough. I saw him just go through one or two drills, and all of a sudden he was hurt. Yeah. So I didn't see enough. But like I said, I saw enough of the other guys to make me feel confident that they don't feel good about him as the game go on. I think Austin Richards can come in and fill in at that left guard.
And he's certainly going to be challenged. Of course, a veteran that was added this offseason, Stephen Jones in the front office, very adamant that they have confidence in Chuma Edoga. He does have some guard tackle flex, but they feel more comfortable with him in the guard spot. So now that Tyler Smith is out, he's able to slide in there. He's going to be faced up with this front seven for the New York Giants, including Dexter Lawrence. 54 pressures in 2022, trailing only Chris Jones for the most by a defensive tackle in the last season. How much is he going to challenge Chuma Edoga in the interior of this Cowboys line?
I think he got paid this offseason. This dude is a beast. He's athletic. He can stop the run, and he can get up the field and sack the passer. Like you said, all the pressures he had, he's going to be a handful. And when they run games and stunts inside, we're going to have to know where he's at all times. We need for our left side to be stable because this kid can bring it.
And you see the stat down there at the bottom, the Giants leading the NFL last season in blitz percentage. Where did they get tested the most today, Cowboys, in terms of the blocking scheme and being tested up front?
Right up the middle. Coach Winks, Martindale, he's going to do what he needs to do. And the thing about him, he's looked at all the film from last year, and he's going to pick out 4 or 5 blitzes or 4 or 5 games that we didn't block very well. And then with our new personnel up front, he's going to try it at different times in the game. We have to be solid. We have to know our assignments and who we got.
Talking about assignments, we've got a new thing here from Cowboys Pregame Live, and I hope you have your notepads out because here's an assignment for all of you at home. Just listen to Isaiah Stanback and Barry Church here. They're across the room. They're about to break down how the Cowboys can have some success here in Week 1 against the Giants.
All right, so now the stats are out. You guys know exactly how often Wink Martindale likes to bring the pressure. You know what I'm saying, Barry? He likes to heat these things up.
You know he does.
Dak Prescott has to have his head on the swivel, has to be able to acknowledge and identify exactly what's going on defensively. So I brought my backup, my guy DCBC, with me today. And you know where we got to take everybody?
Where we got to take them?
We got to take them back to school.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we got to take these guys back to school real quick so that we can make sure that you guys are the smartest ones in the room. We're going to take you from the perspective of an offensive player and a defensive player. All right, so as you come to the line of scrimmage right here, first thing you have to acknowledge if you're Dak Prescott is what is going on in the secondary. Let me identify. How many safeties are there? Well, there's one safety that's back here, okay? Where's the other? Something doesn't add up. Something doesn't add up. So as Dak Prescott's coming to the line of scrimmage, he needs to identify where those guys are. First red flag goes up. Second red flag that goes up is look at the distance. Look at the distance. There's 5 yards of separation between the receivers, Michael Gallup up top, CeeDee Lamb in the slot, and you have all these guys that are in the box. There's a lot of guys in the box. You got 8 guys in the box. You have your safeties over your number 1 receiver. Sum this up. What are you talking about for the defensive side?
Well, from the defensive perspective, Wink Martindale, we all understand he's trying to throw the kitchen sink at Dak Prescott. He's trying to blitz Dak Prescott and make him get rid of the football extremely fast. But when you get to this look right here, as Isaiah pointed out, the safety right here and the corner down here. Something about that matchup just doesn't sound right. Corner on a tight end and your safety on a number 1 wide receiver, that's not adding up. So it's giving the zone look to Dak Prescott. That's the pre-snap look. You're going to get to the zone look. We'll see what he does later on in the snap.
Okay, so before we go to the next picture, I want you to say Dak knows exactly what's going on. So right now his antennas are up. So what he's going to do is he's going to send his protection to the right. Okay, the reason why he's sending his protection to the right is because he has his eyes on one man and one man only, and that is this cornerback right here. He thinks that he is coming off the edge, so he says, you know what? I'm going to send my protection to protect that side, and I'll deal with anything that happens on the front side. Let's go ahead and go to the next picture. All right, so as the play starts to pan out, all of a sudden, we just said your eyes need to go where?
To that corner.
To the corner. So Dak thought pressure was coming from here, when in reality, the pressure was coming from where? Pressure was coming from right here, right at the outside linebacker position, and he is coming to the backside. So when we have linemen blocking away, okay, and we have blitz coming from that near side, now all of a sudden you have to have an option. What's the defense thinking about?
Well, the defense right here, we already know this guy right here is coming, this linebacker right here is coming off of the edge as we see right here. And as you just said, the line is going to slide to the right because Dak thought it was coming from the corner side. So when the offensive or from the defense perspective, you should have a free blitzer over there. Who's going to be there to pick up that blitzer if the line is sliding to the right?
Well, if your line is sliding to the right, then I have to make sure that my running back is coming and fitting up any gaps. Also, we have things that we call on offense called hot routes. Okay, hot routes are alternates to our routes, okay? So you have tight ends that are going to sit into a hole. You have your receivers that are going to shorten up their routes because they realize, hey, red flag, I need to give an outlet for my quarterback.
So with this guy coming off the edge right here, and you got Tony Pollard picking him up on the outside, what we have going on between these two guys right here is what we call a match zone. It's kind of a cover 3 zone where if somebody comes into your area, you don't just simply pass them off. You match up on them, and that's what we got going on right here, which is not a great matchup between the safety and their number 1 receiver, C.D. Lamb. So Wink Martindale is hoping, he's praying that blitz is able to get home to Dak Prescott really fast.
All right, let's go to the last snap of this right here. All right, right off the bat, talk to you guys about the hot routes, okay? So boom, you have CD right here. You have Gallup out here. Look at the space that's created, okay? We talked about that 5-yard buffer between the receivers and their guys that are covering them. Right off the bat, Dak recognizes it, okay? We have Tony Pollard steps up and picks up the blitz, and now all of a sudden, Dak is able to deliver a ball right out here to Michael Gallup, taking advantage of the blitz, taking advantage of the fact that they're playing off coverage, and you're able to convert a first down. That is exactly what Dak's going to have to do going forward as they continue to bring that pressure. Everybody needs to be on alert. Your backs need to be able to pick up the extra man and be able to deliver a ball to your wide open receivers so that they can go out there and make a play. That's what it is. That's what it's going to be. Back to you, Kyle.
Now, that's the type of education you would pay for at the top universities in all of football. And, hey, you get it for free right here on Cowboys Pregame Live. Appreciate it very much, Barry and Isaiah. Now, speaking of lessons learned, Mike McCarthy has been teaching the lessons of the West Coast offense this offseason, bringing a brand new scheme to the Dallas Cowboys and trying to implement it as play caller for the first time since taking over as head coach in 2020. So, with that being said, new challenges are abundant for Mike McCarthy. Just how could that affect the head coach here in his 4th season in Dallas? Nick Harris joins us with Nick at Night for more.
When the Dallas Cowboys offense hits the field tonight, there are going to be a lot of firsts for Dak Prescott and company. It'll be Prescott's first snap with Mike McCarthy as the main play caller. It'll be Brandon Cook's first snap in a Cowboys uniform. It'll also be Tony Pollard and Jake Ferguson's first snaps as the full-time starters. Despite the newness, Mike McCarthy said in Oxnard on August 14th that he feels like the preparation that the team got during training camp will prepare them for Week 1 a lot better.
I've done it both ways. I think where your team is, what you think of your team, we've.
Looking back at previous season openers in Mike McCarthy's time in Dallas, the Dallas Cowboys are 0-3. We could go back to last year. Dak Prescott was on his way to having one of his worst single-game performances in his NFL career before suffering a thumb fracture in the 4th quarter against Tampa Bay and stumbling to just 3 points of offensive production. Going back to 2021, while Prescott was on fire, it was the running game that struggled. Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard combining for just 47 yards on 14 attempts. And in 2020, despite no team in the NFL having a preseason due to the pandemic, the Dallas offense suffered mightily on 3rd down, going just 3 for 12. So what gives? What gives McCarthy confidence going into Week 1 on the road against a divisional opponent? That'll be for Mike McCarthy to answer later tonight if things don't go well, or for him to take a victory lap around if they do. Here's for hoping for the latter. Happy football season, everybody. Back to you, Kyle.
And Nick Harris joining us for the first time on Cowboys Pregame Live. You can read that every single week. He does call it Nick at Night. He releases it midweek. And we'll also have Patrick Walker. We'll have Nick Eatman rotating through as the beat writers for DallasCowboys.com, all three of which, of course, really involved with this Cowboys team in the 2023 season. Back here with Nate Newton and Professor Isaiah Stanback down there at the end from Back to School. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Now, How different will this offense look, Isaiah, with Mike McCarthy as the play caller? Because you've run a West Coast scheme before as a quarterback. How does that change things?
First of all, I need to temper everybody's expectations. This is not going to be the offense of what you have come to know and love from the Dallas Cowboys of recent years. It's not going to be as flashy. It's not going to be as deep routes in terms of ball being pushed down the field, aside from play action. What the ultimate goal for Mike McCarthy is ball control. He wants to win. He wants to win the time of possession, especially when you have a defense as dominant as Dan Quinn's. So you want to play keep away, control the line of scrimmage, run the ball, short down the distances the entire time, high precision passes for Dak Prescott, and then when the team is starting to commit to the run and starting to try to stop Tony Pollard, then you hit him over the top with your big play action passes to CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks.
And what do you mean by controlling the clock? It ain't about at the end of the game, we have 3 more minutes than anybody else. What it means is if our defense has been on the field for 9 minutes, to come out and call the proper plays. You want to call shorter passes. You want to call more sure runs, passes and plays that your offensive line can block with a high percentage of success. What you want to do is right before the half with a minute left, you're up by 3, you want to call the proper plays to give your defense a chance not to come back on the field. At the end of games when you have a lead, you don't want to go out there like in Jacksonville and call 3 straight pass plays and put your defense right back out on the field with a great quarterback. That is what he means about controlling the game.
Tell him how it is, Nate Newton. I like how you just broke that down. Now, the last time Mike McCarthy was the play caller in Green Bay, his final 3 seasons as play caller, 2016 through 2018, the Packers were in spread formations 67% of the time. That was second in the NFL. Last year,
Give Dak a lot of easier decisions, okay? Last year, the first half of the season, you saw a lot of miscommunication between Dak and the receiving core. Reason being, there was a lot of read routes, okay? The receivers were trying to read the coverage along with Dak trying to read the coverage. And if they were ever not on the same page, seeing the same things, then all of a sudden you had turnovers. This year is not the case, okay? You're going to have coverage beaters to one side. You're going to have coverage beaters down on the other side that are completely different. So he's going to be able to come up, diagnose exactly what the coverage is, pre-snap, confirm it on post-snap, and get the ball where it needs to be.
And how they'll do that is by calling plays much quicker and giving him a chance to walk up to the line, to look over the coverages, to make those adjustments, and it will help their offensive line settle down. And that is what it'll be when they read these plays.
Yeah, that pre-snap look should be much easier for Dak Prescott. He's made it look easy against the New York Giants in the past. With a win, Dak will tie Roger Staubach with 11 straight wins against the New York Giants. That's the most by any quarterback in the NFL since 1950. Speaking of guys behind center and behind the line of scrimmage, let's talk about Tony Pollard here. Of course, franchise tagged earlier in the offseason. Nate, how early does Tony Pollard need to get involved tonight?
Quick, fast, and in a hurry. You want to spread this thing out. You want to make it where their defense has to run to tackle this guy. The quicker we can get outside, the quicker we can get him in the swing pass, it makes their defense work all the more harder.
Yeah, get the ball to TP. Get it to him often. He's going to control it. You know, the last few seasons he had 100 carries, and then he had 130, and then he had 190 last year. He is going to have over 200 carries this year, and he will be the workhorse for this offense.
But I don't need him to touch that ball more than 22 times because you want to save him towards the end of the season. We have to let these other guys, you know, the Doddles and the little guy, get him a little bit more involved.
Well, he's only touched or had 20-plus carries in a game one time in his NFL career. The last 2 seasons, though, he has the most yards per carry and most yards per touch in the NFL since 2021. He suffered the broken fibula in the loss in the playoff game, divisional round against San Francisco. What are realistic expectations, though, for Tony Pollard in terms of numbers and in terms of the way that he can open things up offensively?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, I believe that he's going to be a 200 carry back. Now, the question mark is how effective will he be and how formidable will he be on the inside the tackles? That's going to be the question mark. I have no question that he's going to be able to make plays with his legs, be able to get the touchdowns down there in the red zone. But he's going to have to be effective not only in that running game, but screen game is going to be huge for him as well.
Let me tell you something, man. With them 2 guys we got outside, you ain't going to be able to cover this thing up with CD and Cooks out there. You ain't going to be able to cover this thing up with Michael Gallup. You ain't going to be able to cover this thing up. You spread this thing, put that boy Ferguson that tight end, and you do whatever you want with this young man. I'm telling you, he's going to be all world at the end of the year.
A career high 1,378 scrimmage yards last year and 12 touchdowns. A great 2022 season for Tony Pollard. It was also great for CeeDee Lamb, who was top 4 in receptions, receiving touchdowns, and he was 6th in yards. How high is the ceiling for CeeDee Lamb? One of those 2 guys on the outside, Nate, that can open everything up.
I'm going to tell you what, by adding Brandon Cooks gives CeeDee Lamb the chance to be who he really is. He's a mid-range guy that can go long distance. He wants the ball early and often. If you give it to him early, he's going to make some things happen. Look for his yards to go up by 200. Look for his touchdowns to be by 3. And you know what? Look for the big plays to be exciting.
Big plays are definitely going to be exciting. You're talking about he's made 1,000 yards receiving 2 out of his 3 years in the league. The 1 year was his first year. He had 935 yards, so just short of 1,000.
And he didn't have Dak Prescott.
And he didn't have Dak. So let's go ahead and call it 3,000-yard seasons, okay? This will be the 4th, hands down. And it's going to come. A lot of these big plays are going to come up as far as him coming across the formation. He's going to do a lot of crossing routes, I believe. And a lot of these plays are going to come off of play action. Again, it all relates back to what Tony Pollard can do out the backfield, but I think CeeDee's going to have a heck of a year.
And much like his quarterback, he loves looking across the line of scrimmage and seeing the red and the blue of the New York Giants. In his 6 career games against the Giants, CeeDee Lamb has at least 80 receiving yards in 4 of those. So 4 of 6, 2/3 of the time, feel pretty good about CeeDee Lamb and what he brings. But let's hear from Brandon Cooks, the other man opposite of CeeDee Lamb, and what he could bring to this offense and the expectations in his first season with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, no, I mean, division games, as we all know, is so important in this league. That's the tell of a lot. But the fact that it's week 1, you want to get off to a fast start, really to be able to get that ball rolling.
I know you've had a few week 1s in your career, but been in Houston the last couple of years. Any extra excitement, though, to be week 1 here with the opportunity to do that unmentionable?
Yeah, I mean, no. It's definitely exciting. Obviously, you know what they've been fighting for around here for a long time. But, I'm just hoping that I can add to that fire to be able to get over that hump. But like I said, taking it 1 week at a time.
Of course, Brandon Cooks and company bringing the expertise. Stephon Gilmore, also an addition for the Dallas Cowboys. Both guys traded for early in the offseason, both very much so veterans that have brought some excitement to this Cowboys team and brought some debate as well. I think for the most part, you look at both sides of the football, they're improved by Brandon Cooks on offense. There's some improvements with Stephon Gilmore now in the second.
Was a former safety. We get to play more free when you're out there with a guy that can lock things down. You don't have to worry about playing over the top or helping him out on that side. You can play free. So if you got a guy like Diggs on that left side that can lock things down, Gilmore on the right side that can lock things down, that defensive possibilities, they're endless.
Challenge. All right, so Gilmore's going to do his thing. I truly believe that.
Okay.
However, I think his success is dependent on the front 7. Okay, so I think that the front 7 gets after it, he'll go ahead and get his INTs. When on the other side of the ball there, Mr. BC, okay, we have Mr. Brandon Cooks, okay? And Brandon Cooks has been eating his entire career.
Consistent.
6 1,000-yard receiving, go ahead, what is it?
Seasons,
there you go. I couldn't even think right there. But 6 1,000-yard seasons. And what is he going to open up? We just finished talking about Tony Pollard. If the defense tries to go ahead and play it in the box, they're going to catch a over the top, okay? But they're going to have to sit back and respect Mr. Brandon Cooks. He is the fastest man on the field, and whenever the offense steps on the field. So what are they going to do? Safeties have to back up. When safeties back up, TPE. So other people are going to be the benefactor of Brandon Cooks, not the other way around.
See what you did there.
That's
See what you did there.
Here's the thing. I'm the self-appointed judge here, but you look at both sides of the football, the defense last year was what? Elite.
It was.
This was an elite defense in 2021 and 2022. But now you look to the offensive side, what were they in 2022? They were above average. They were a decent offense. I think Brandon Cooks can take this offense further than Stephon Gilmore could take the defense. Now,
good point.
That's just because the defense has already been there, done that.
That's true.
The offense has further to go, and I think an addition like Brandon Cooks could open things up. But don't worry, Barry. We've still got more debate going on.
Round 2.
We've got debate already happening. Let's take a look at some of the pieces that were added for the New York Giants this offseason. Darren Waller, who we've talked about already, just as an addition. We'll have more on him later on as well. Parents Campbell, John Michael Schmitz, the Minnesota center, taken in the second round, trying to beef up that offensive line, and they also beefed up the track speed as well. Jalen Hyatt, who was clocked as the fastest receiver in game action last year in college football, and Jalen Hyatt, of course, a Biletnikoff Award winner out of Tennessee. They've tried to add some of that speed. You add some of the beef up front and those weapons on the offensive side of the football. Who do you think is more of a problem, though, for this Cowboys defense? Saquon Barkley, who, of course, has been with the Giants for quite some time, or the new addition in Darren Waller?
Look, I'm going to go Darren Waller 100% right here. Like, I understand Barkley, he's explosive. He's one of the most explosive backs in the National Football League. But over the past couple of years, the Dallas Cowboys have done a great job in bottling this man up. In the 8 games they played, 464 yards, 3 touchdowns. So they kind of bottled him up over there. But when you look at, and by the way, he's what, 1-7 against the Cowboys when it's just Barkley? That's not a good record. But when you look at the guy like Darren Waller, he brings something to the Saquon Barkley.
Let's see what you did there.
Okay.
I hear you, and I'm going to raise you.
Raise it up.
The reason why I'm going to raise him is because Saquon Barkley is hands down the most explosive back in the game of football next to Tony Pollard. That is. The reason being, because this dude is a lightning bolt in the backfield. We always talk about how he relates more so to Barry Sanders than anybody else has ever in the game. So he has the ability to be able to make you miss no matter what you want to do. You better bring 2 people because the first man's going to miss. Then he has the ability to catch the ball as well. This dude is just as good a receiver as Darren Waller, just doesn't have the size. Now, Darren Waller's going to be able to go out there and run and catch and do all those things and go ahead and post you up. But guess what? He has that hamstring that's been bothering him for years and years and years. Saquon Barkley has been getting bottled up by the Dallas Cowboys, but guess what? Brian Daboll is tired of that. He's going to try to find a way to get Saquon the ball early and often.
So Saquon Barkley last year against Dallas in game 1 against the Cowboys, 14 carries for 81 yards and a touchdown. That's a decent stat line. It's an okay stat line. It was the second game that really Dallas got the better of him on. 11 carries, 39 yards, and a touchdown. But I got to ask the question. Barry, as the former defender on this crew.
Yes, sir.
Who would you rather hit, Darren Waller or Saquon Barkley?
It depends. There's circumstances to that because if it's open field, give me Darren Waller. If it's open, but we're talking about it in the phone booth, give me Saquon Barkley without a doubt. But overall, I'm going to say I'd rather hit Saquon than Darren Waller.
Oh, you're an offensive guy. I don't know how much we can add to this.
Listen, I've seen Saquon squat before. I don't want no parts of that.
I don't want any part of it overall. I like it. Very nicely done from both of you gentlemen. But the guy who's going to have to go up against Darren Waller is Jaron Kearse. Of course, coming down from the safety spot, you're already missing a guy like Donovan Wilson, who was the enforcer on this Cowboys defense. Things are going to be interesting for Dallas on how they fill his void. Jaron Kearse up against the tight ends, that's almost a lock. Let's hear from Jaron as he prepares for the matchup with Darren Waller and the Giants tonight.
As far as him having Darren Waller, played him when he was with the Raiders. One of the top tight ends in this game. Definitely going to be a good battle, and I'm looking forward to it. My opinion, he's one of the top two tight ends in this game. He can run, he can catch, he can move after the catch. So he poses a threat who's ever going against him. But like I said, I faced him before, so I got some familiarity with his game, and he probably does with me too. So like I said, it's going to be a showdown on Sunday night.
Jaron Kearse going to be tabbed with slowing down Darren Waller and this Giants offense. Of course, the new tight end, you've already talked about it. He is an X factor for the Giants if he's fully healthy and ready to go here in week 1. Dealing with a bit of a hamstring issue, but they expect him to play against the Dallas Cowboys. And you know what that is? That's some music ringing. The church bells are ringing because it's Sunday night and church service is back here on Cowboys Pregame Live. Barry Church, I want you to take me through the keys to slowing down Darren Waller, especially as a new addition in this Giants offense.
Well, it's week 1 of the 2023 season. You know we had to start things off right with church service. So we're going to get right into it. Let's dive right into it, Cal. The first key we're talking about with slowing Darren Waller is you got to be physical with this guy. This is one of the most physically gifted tight ends in the National Football League. So when we're talking about Kearse, McCwamu, Bland, maybe even a Damone Clark, whoever has to guard this man one-on-one, you got to be physical with him. I want you all up in that man's face. All right? You got to put your paws on him. You got to slow off that timing between Daniel Jones and Darren Waller out there. And it's not about just the pass. When it's the run as well and he has to cut off that defensive end, I'm talking about Parsons and Lawrence, I need those guys to run through his face mask. Feel it each and every play out there. Slow him down so when that fourth quarter comes around and he's running those shallow crosses over there, you'll start to get those little alligator arms. Just a little bit of alligator arms, not fully extending to make the play. We got to make him feel it each and every down. He'll say no mas in the fourth quarter.
I'm really glad you didn't run through the camera the same way that you want those guys to run through Darren Waller like that. Okay, outside of getting physical, he has more receptions, more receiving yards, and more receiving touchdowns than every tight end in the NFL except for 2 guys, Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews, since 2019. So you really talk about the way he's continued to be a veteran, be a starter in this offense. Do you think now with a new fold you can throw a couple curveballs at him?
You got to, because not only is he physically gifted, he's extremely intelligent when you talk about tight ends and running routes, knowing what defenses want to do to him. So we got to show him different looks, and we got to give him different coverages. Now, when it comes to the coverages, I know Dan Quinn, he got that down pat. But different techniques. I talked about being physical earlier, but once in a while, you got to back off a little bit. You can't just be physical with this guy 9 times out of 10. He'll figure things out, and he'll make you miss. He's a great counterpuncher. So when you're up in his grill, getting all physical with him, right before the snap, you might want to back off a little bit. Just show him different looks like that. Make sure he understands that, look, these guys are showing me different things. I can't always depend on one release. So you got to show him different things. And when it comes to the coverages, we know Dan Quinn, he's the mad scientist. He'll show you zone, play man. He'll show you man, play zone, and blitz. We got to confuse these guys. Daniel Jones, Darren Waller, got to get them off on the same page, because if they are, it could be a long evening for the Dallas Cowboys.
And then what are ways that he's going to fit into this offense for the Giants, maybe better than he even did previously with the Las Vegas Raiders, and how can the Cowboys stop that and slow it down?
Well, this has nothing to do with coverage. This has nothing to do with it. It has to do with the front seven. My last key is you've got to heat up Danny Dimes out there, all right? We have got to get after him. It starts with Micah Parsons, starts with DeMarcus Lawrence, Odigizua and those guys. I don't care if you have prime Randy Moss on the outside. Well, maybe not Randy Moss,
maybe not
because
Randy.
he was a problem.
Let's talk
but
about
anybody else out there, if you got a front seven heating up Daniel Jones, they're not going to be able to get the ball to him. So you got to have Danny Dimes out there looking at the front, watching the rush instead of watching what's going on in the back end. If he's seeing ghosts and we're speeding him up, forcing him to make decisions before he's ready, that connection right there, it'll become non-existent, and that's how you slow down a guy like Darren Waller.
A lot of times, tight ends will become the safety blanket for a quarterback. We've even seen it in Dallas. Dalton Schultz in the past.
This is true.
Dak Prescott, if Dak was under pressure, he would look for 86. They're going to look for Darren Waller in situations like that, but if you can't get the ball off, you can't throw it to a guy like Darren Waller.
Sir.
I like it. First church service of the year. It feels like we never left here on Cowboys Pregame Live. One of the guys getting after Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes, as you said,
yes,
is Micah Parsons. He's still continuing to grow into his now 3rd season in the NFL. Let's hear from Micah and the expectations that are set for year 3.
You know, it's extremely important because the Giants isn't just no walkover team. I think they put together a great offense, great, offseason just like we did. They got great guys who they already had. And just the rivalry just makes it so much harder and such a better game and something you really got prepared for because they're going to come and give us their best shot. And each game last year came down to the wire, so it's not a game that we're just like, man, this is a game. Every game, this is like a Super Bowl.
How much do you think it's Super Bowl?
Man, I've been sleeping on it. I've been dreaming about it. It's late at night, man. I just think Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. But, I don't get too caught up on it at the same time because I know I got to take care of each week of its own. Every day have its worries of its own. And every day you have to focus on just getting better that inch and inch. And eventually you'll be enough inches to where you are in the Super Bowl and you knew it'll be there. But your preparation, your work, your mindset, all which led there. Everything that you do every day leads to the Super Bowl. Not just say, hey, I want to go to the Super Bowl. It just don't work like that.
We know it's week 1, but the expectations have been clear for the Dallas Cowboys, both in-house and outside of it. This roster, with the additions of Brandon Cooks, with the addition of Stephon Gilmore, both internally and externally for Micah, what are your expectations for Micah this year and what he could bring to the table?
I just need him to continue to be that dog on the field that he's been these past couple years. I mean, he is the leader of this defense. And you saw this offseason, he's becoming more of that vocal leader as well, kind of showing these young men that this just follow me and this is how we're going to get it done. But if he can continue to be that dog year in and year out, game in and game out, I have no worries about this Cowboys defense.
Yeah, I'm not a big stat guy, Kyle, but I just want Micah to continue to be a game record. That's what he's been over the past few years, 13 sacks, 13 and a half sacks. But what he's allowed for is for other guys on this team to go out and eat. You got Armstrong eating, you got D-Law eating, you got Fowler eating, you got Sam Williams. So I don't care whether he gets the sacks or other guys get the sack. The pressure alone is gonna go ahead and force some errant throws, and when those errant throws happen, you got them guys on the outside that can go ahead and make them pay for it.
Discipline. If Micah Parsons is disciplined in who he is and what he's doing, he wants to be this premier defensive end, outside linebacker, he has to be disciplined. Like you say, if it's a game, complete the game. If you got outside contain, get outside contain. If he's disciplined and mature in what he does, this team will take off.
Isaiah may not be a stat guy, but I think the stats do tell the story sometimes. By the way, second in the NFL with pressures on 17% of dropbacks last year. The only player that had more than Micah Parsons last year was the rookie Aiden Hutchinson with the Detroit Lions. So speaking on the percentage of pressures and the percentage of dropbacks that Micah Parsons had, it's about effectiveness. Can he continue to be effective through an entire 17-game season and not just front load the success here in 2023?
I think they're going to have to continue to manage his workload, and that's hard when you have a Lion that's as hungry as he is. I'm not sure how Dan Quinn manages that. Obviously, he felt that was important enough for him to put some weight on this offseason. We'll see exactly how that pays off for him.
It's maturity. You can't make every play, but if you're in the right place, like Isaiah said, it enables for other guys to make plays. When you get, a lot of times running 90 yards down the field is not going to help. You got to be smart, be mature. You put on the extra weight, use it to your advantage.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him on the D-line the majority of this year. I mean, last year we saw him go back and forth, linebacker, second-level D-lineman. But if he's able to sit there on that D edge and get after the quarterback game in and game out, I expect big things out of our man, Micah Parsons.
Yeah, I'm interested. You've played on some really good defenses.
Oh, yeah.
Who was the most comparable player that you played with to Micah Parsons in terms of that mentality, that ability to get in the backfield and disrupt things?
I would have to go. There was two. When I was in Jacksonville, they called us Saxonville, but Yannick Ngakoue, which is a game record. You can't play the run as well as Parsons, but he can get after quarterbacks just as well. And a young Dante Fowler. This dude was a freak of nature coming off the edge. Athletic ability, can bend with anybody. Those two combined, I think, are Micah Parsons. That's how special he is.
Nate, did you block anybody that was along those lines?
Oh, man, Charles Haley. He can dictate games, take over games, and that's it. That's it. Charles Haley. Okay. You got to touch of Charles Haley now. I don't know if he out of world like Haley.
He might be. He's still only in year 3. We can get there at some point down the line. But going up,
that'll open up a lot more. But I'm looking for those second-level defenders to kind of bottle up and contain Saquon Barkley.
I'm going to go to the defensive ends. I think D-Law, Sam Williams, anybody else that's out there, Fowler, okay, you guys are all going to have to play a big role in making sure that he is disrupted both in the running game and as he tries to get out into the run. Out to the pass. We saw it last year. D-Law did a good job of just getting his hands on him, grabbing him a little bit as he tries to get out to the flats or tries to get out to the screens. That will allow your second-level defenders to be able to catch up because nobody on that second level can run with this man.
And, they had a debate earlier. It's Saquon, baby. The whole front seven got to be in their gaps where they're supposed to be, setting the edge, making sure there's nothing in the A and B gaps, and make this guy run just sideline to sideline, and then Waller will be effective.
That's a good point. I like it. The debate segment's going to reign true. We're going to start having to keep tally here on what
I need a rematch. I need a rematch.
Speaking on dual threat backs like Saquon Barkley and being able to utilize him in the passing game, did you ever play with anybody that you really relied on as a quarterback to kind of take that pressure off of you as a runner and as a thrower?
Not one guy specifically. I think there was one guy, Justin Forsett was pretty dynamic in that regard. He was really undervalued until later on in his career, but he had the ability to run in between tackles and catch the ball out the backfield on the screens.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley is almost a unicorn. He's one of a kind in that regard because he is so effective out of that Giants backfield. He helped open things up for Daniel Jones last season in the first year underneath Brian Daboll as well. Daniel Jones had a career season with the Giants a year ago, but does it really change your mentality when going up against Daniel Jones, who in the past had struggled with holding on to the football? He turned it over time after time. Does that change things from a defensive standpoint, the way that he played in 2022?
I'm going to put a little bit more respect on Daniel Jones' name out here. I mean, Brian Daboll has gotten the most out of Daniel Jones. He's no longer a walking turnover like he was in years past. He has only 7 turnovers that last year, so he did a great job of taking care of the football. But when you have a front seven like the Dallas Cowboys, and they can get after any quarterback out there, that, I think, can turn him back into that Danny Nickel or kind of a guy that turns the ball over. So, to me, he's gonna be good, but overall that front seven should be able to heat him up and turn him back into a pumpkin.
My grandpa used to always tell me, don't you walk over no change. I don't care if it's a dime or a nickel, you pick it up. So when Danny Dimes decides to put it in the air, you go ahead and you grab that money because he is going to give you an opportunity. I don't care how much coaching he receives from Brian Daboll. When you're facing a front as dominant as the Dallas Cowboys front seven, you're going to get a little jittery and you're going to throw some errant throws. When you do that, take advantage of it.
If there's no run game, this kid can't win.
Yeah.
He's a play action pass guy. He's a guy that can get through cracks, if the protection break down. But if this guy has to win the game, last year he was 54% first game, 60% the second game. This guy cannot win the game by himself.
High expectations for Daniel Jones. Of course, they went to the divisional round a year ago as well before losing to the Philadelphia Eagles in that divisional matchup. The expectations are high for him, but it's hard to really argue that they are as high as Dak Prescott's expectations from outside the building looking in. Inside the building, even talking with Zach Martin earlier this week, they have full confidence that Dak can get the job done in the Dallas Cowboys uniform. Let's hear from Dak himself about managing those expectations and whether or not they're fair on QB1.
What I do here at times, it's behind me. If I've ever given credit to people's opinion, I wouldn't be this far, wouldn't have made it this far in my life in this league. Everybody has an opinion. My former teammate Chris Jones just said that. I read what he said about the opinions, and I feel the same. So for me, it's about focusing on what I can do, this team, the guys and the men that we have, and I can't control everybody's narrative, what they try to make something out to be. But as I started this off with, any loss is motivating, especially when I finished the season as we did last year. Yeah, it's about turning the page and writing a new sentence, and the pen's in our hands, and we're ready to do that.
Would you say that some of the criticism comes from the standard that was set before you in Roger and Troy? That's why you're
Sure. I mean, that's not for me to dissect why I'm being scrutinized or really even give any energy to people's narratives and opinions. That's for them, honestly.
So there you hear about the expectations with Dak Prescott. And, of course, after 15 interceptions a year ago, there will be criticism, there will be some scrutiny, yes, but it's always as a part of the job as the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. And he's warming up at MetLife Stadium, getting ready for this one. But what does he need to prove, Barry, to you in 2023 in order to build that confidence, or is the confidence already there for Dak?
He just needs to prove that last year was an anomaly, which I believe it really was. I mean, when you look at it, when you look at his resume out there, he's never turned the football over as much as he did last year. So I expect Dak Prescott to get back to the quarterback he was in years past, taking care of the football and leading this team the right way.
I agree. I don't think that he needs to prove anything per se, but I do want to see him improve on his ball location. It's going to be very, very important that he is on point with his decision making and then on point with his ball location, because there's going to be tight windows in this particular offense. And if you miss even by an inch, tips and overthrows,
you got to get those.
You know what? I just believe this here. This guy got 3 receivers that know where to be. And you said it over and over, Isaiah, that it's about precision and timing. So it's not only on Dak, it's on our receivers to read what he reads. Right. That's why they're going to get out of the huddle early so everybody can be on the same page.
Like we talked about, the confidence is there from the front office, from the coaching staff, and then internally with the team around Dak Prescott. Did throw 15 interceptions to lead the NFL last year. He's got to find a way to trim those down, and by that point, you feel like you're a completely different offense with Dak Prescott at the helm. I think without those turnovers mixed into the fold. Speaking of the front office, let's go back out to MetLife Stadium. Nick Eatman caught up on the sidelines with Cowboys COO Stephen Jones prior to kickoff.
Thanks, Kyle. And once again, we're joined by Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. And just now, he just told me he's excited. You want to see this group. Is it always like that week one? You're just not really sure what to expect?
Well, especially after the last couple of years, as we all know how Mike treats, our starters, our established starters. You don't get to see much of them, and certainly not as a unit, right. Other than in practice against each other. So I'm fired up to see what's going to happen tonight. Obviously, a lot of confidence in what we've been doing, but both offense, defense, and special teams. But it'll be entertaining to see how all these guys come together, how they work Cooks into the mix, and then, working Gilmore and Mozzie and all that crew over there. It's going to be a fun evening.
Well, we wanted to see that T. Smith on that left side, Tyron and Tyler. Tyler's out of this game. Tyron was banged up. What are you expecting from that?
Obviously, with Chuma coming off that 2 or 3 weeks without practicing, we want to make sure, we don't get him overdone tonight.
What about your quarterback, Dak Prescott? I mean, he's so much said about the offseason. He had some interception issues last year, but just the way that he's come back this season, are you expecting huge things from him?
Well, this guy's just got the it factor. I mean, he's a leader. He knows how to overcome any type of adversity, and certainly I know everybody wants to focus on last year. He's focused on going forward in this year, and certainly has a lot of confidence in what Coach McCarthy and Coach Shoddy have in store for this offense. A lot of confidence in it, and feel like he'll really do well.
Well, you talk a little bit about your Micah Parsons on the other side, number 11 there. He's been like a guy that's just been caged up.
New England just beat
It looks like there was a huge play. I thought the Giants were coming onto the field, but I think what happened was it was maybe a touchdown by the Patriots. Everybody, that's one thing these fans have in common. They want to see the Eagles lose.
We all have that in common, absolutely.
I was going to ask you about Micah Parsons, though, real quick. Nobody's been able to block him. Are you excited to finally just let him go? He can finally hit the quarterback today.
I think I love Dak's quote. It's going to be great to play a team that doesn't have number 11 on it, which he's been disrupting our practice all in the preseason, certainly leading up to the regular season here. So it'll be great to see Micah, but it'll be great to see Micah not going against us.
Could have some weather issues at some point. You guys have practiced with some wet balls this week. Any concern at all if it gets wet?
Not at all. Mike's got him prepared for that. As you said, we practiced with wet balls this week. I have all the confidence in the world we'll be fine, whether it rains or it doesn't rain.
All right, let's get a victory here. This is Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. We'll throw it back to Kyle and the crew.
Thank you very much, Stephen and Nick. On the sidelines at MetLife Stadium. Again, 7:20 p.m. kickoff on NBC. Cowboys and Giants beginning the 2023 season in style. As we wrap things up here on Pregame Live, presented by WinStar World Casino and Resort. We've got Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Barry, it's time for Keys to the Game.
Okay.
I want you to tell me how the Cowboys can start 1-0 this season.
Oh, you got to make New York one-dimensional, all right? You got to shut down Saquon Barkley and force New York to rely on Daniel Jones' arm. Just like my man Nate said, he can't win it by himself, and I don't think they will.
Okay, I see you. I'm going to go with the good old TOP. What's that stand for? Time of possession. That is Mike McCarthy's goal with this new offense. I need to see them go ahead and go out there and execute it without the turnovers.
Strength. The strength of this team is the defense. And that time of possession is what we're talking about. Coach McCarthy got to make sure that our defense stays fresh so they can win the game at the end.
I like that, staying fresh. And throughout the season, of course, I've got my card throw. I want not one, I want not two. I want 3 different turnovers for this Cowboys defense. I want to turn Daniel Jones back into 2021 Daniel Jones. Get the football back, get it to your offense, give them some more opportunities, and that's how the Cowboys are going to win this game in Week 1 and go to 1-0 on the 2023 season. This has been fun. We're going to be here every single week, 1 hour prior to kickoff. Cowboys Pregame Live. Nate Newton, Nick Eatman out at MetLife Stadium. I'm Kyle Yeomans saying so long until next week. Enjoy the game, everybody. We'll see you afterwards for Cowboys Game Night.